It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Carol Lapidus. Has a master's degree in social work and is the co-founder and co-director of Raising Confident Kids and Raising Strong and Confident Daughters, programs out of Ann Arbor area. She has over 20 years of program planning experience and is the project director for It's Great to Be a Girl mentor program, and she provides parenting workshops throughout Southeast Michigan. Please join me in welcoming Carol Lapidus.
I don't know how many of you are coming back tonight for the Raising Teenagers, but my daughter said to me as she was leaving this morning, "You're not wearing that, are you?" So, uh-oh. So that gives you a preview of tonight. Okay, so a little bit about me, and then we will spend our time together talking about raising our daughters. Thank you for the introduction. I want to thank Julie for inviting me here today. So a little bit about me. I'm a social worker by training, and I, in 1997, read a book that totally scared me. It was called Reviving Ophelia. How many people, by a show of hands, have even heard of this book? Oh, all of you, several of you. Okay, so for those of you who haven't, Reviving Ophelia was written by a woman named Mary Pfeiffer, who's a psychologist. And essentially what she talked about in her book was what she saw happening with girls who were coming to her practice as they sort of essentially lost their sense of self as they were transitioning from elementary school into middle school. And she just talked about all of these phenomena, dumbing down, hiding their intelligence, becoming preoccupied with their appearance, issues with friends. And it was just such a scary book to me because my daughters were little then. They were 6 and 9. And I felt like, oh, wow, I hope when I get to the last chapter, she is going to talk about, what you can do to help your daughter stay strong and resilient. And it wasn't there. So at the time, I was actually working at the other end of the continuum. I was working in the field of geriatric social work. But this book felt really important to me. And I felt like, okay, I'm a social worker. I am going to read everything I can. I'm going to talk to people in the community. I'm going to find out what's going on to help girls stay strong. And there really, other than the Girl Scouts, there really weren't any formal programs addressing the issues that I knew as a parent, myself and other parents were probably worried about. So I partnered with a friend and colleague, and we developed the program Raising Strong and Confident Daughters, and we piloted it at our daughter's elementary school. And the secretary called me the day after the flyers went home announcing this program that was going to be at the school, and she said, "Is there a cap on the number of people, because these things are coming in fast and furiously?" So we knew that we had struck a chord with a lot of families. The Ann Arbor News interviewed a couple that had come to our workshop, and the day after that article appeared, so this was in 1997, the day after that article appeared, we got 100 phone calls. So we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so since 1997, we have been doing workshops on raising strong and confident daughters, and also developed a program that actually is my favorite, which is called It's Great to Be a Girl. And I just want to tell you a little bit about this, because I like to tell people when I talk in all sorts of communities, this is a program that you could get started at your daughter's school. It's an after-school program, and being in the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti community, we were really lucky because we have 2 universities there, Eastern Michigan University and the University of Michigan. And one of the things that in talking to parents over the years, after they would come to a workshop like you're here today, they'd say, well, this was helpful and valuable information, but when do our daughters actually get to talk about these issues? That's why It's Great to Be a Girl really becomes the centerpiece for the work that I think is important for girls, because we train undergraduate women, 18 to 21, who aren't that far removed from all of the issues of girls that they're struggling with when they're in elementary school and middle school. And we train these young women as mentors, but instead of calling them mentors, we call them femtors, female mentors. And like that? And the femtors go through this training, and then they go into the middle school, so we work with 6th grade girls, and they sit with the girls in we call them home groups, and they talk about all of the issues that are impacting girls when you're in 6th grade. And that's everything from, which we'll talk about in a moment, to from body image to friendship drama to struggles with parents, teasing and harassment. And what's so valuable is that these college women are, well, they have this like instant cool factor. As soon as they come into the school, the girls are like upside them, or what's your name, you know, and they just love being around them, which gives the Femtors this amazing power to be able to deliver the really powerful message, which is stay strong and stay true to who you are. Because as you'll see this morning, everything outside of them is pulling them towards a toxic message, which tells them essentially, you're not okay the way you are unless you look like this, you have this, and you do this. And so it's a really confusing time when you're trying to figure out who you are. So one of the things that I feel passionate about is figuring out how to put in the lives of girls alternative messages to what they're getting in the media. And I want to read you sort of a frightening thing. The media, and when I do workshops for girls, I ask girls, what do I mean by the media? And a lot of the girls will say, oh, well, we have a media center at our school. Yeah, that's true. What's in your media center? And then they'll start to be able to kind of critically think, oh, well, there's magazines and newspapers, and then we talk about the internet, and we talk about television, and then we start to talk with girls about what kind of messages do you get from the media about what it means to be a girl? And then they sort of look at me sort of blankly. And then I ask them the question, tell me, and these are little girls, tell me what you think a pretty, beautiful woman looks like. Okay? And all of a sudden, out of the mouths of 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, well, you gotta be tall, you know, and they go down the line with that single standard beauty image that we get, you know, thrust down our throat every single day, which for the most part doesn't look like anybody in the room. And yet, what they're told or what they're like meant to believe is that you're not beautiful unless you look like this sort of Western standard beauty, tall, skinny, blonde, white, all that kind of thing. So we talk about what is real beauty. And I'm going to give you, and remind me, at the end of today, I'm going to give you an activity that you can do with your daughter that is so powerful, it's kind of what it's called an activist activity, that can help her start to think about what's coming in and how she feels about it and how she can resist it, okay? But at any rate, this program is so powerful in that I think the message that you'll be hearing this morning is one that girls need to hear at a really young age so that they can begin to think critically and not, you know, sort of take in and swallow whole what it is that the culture is telling them is valuable about them. And a lot of what that means for girls, and I know that a lot of parents kind of just want to like bury their head about it, but the truth of the matter is that the message that your daughters have already probably gotten is a very sexualized message. So much so that when I'm working with the Femtors, and one of them has told me that for years while she was, I think even in high school and on into her early college years, she was working, it used to be called the Limited 2. How many of you are familiar with this girls store? For the dads in the room, I'm not sure if you know about this, but it's a little girls store, you know, for clothes. It's now called Justice. But when she was first working there, she said if you looked in the like pajamas and underwear department, the underpants were just, you know, regular little girl underwear. And over time, they started having thongs for little girls. Okay? So I tell you this because it's important to recognize that the culture is already sort of putting its gaze on little girls and thinking in terms of marketing and the sexualization of little girls. And what's a little bit scary about that is if you see your friends at a slumber party, you know, changing into their PJs and they're wearing a thong, then you're going to go home and say, I want a thong. And they don't even understand what it all means, okay? So very important for us to understand that. So I'm going to do a little activity with you now that I do with the girls when I'm in the schools. And what I'm going to ask you in a moment to do is to pick one of 4 corners to stand in. And one of these corners is each going to have a topic in it. And what I want you to do is to pick which of these issues you think upper elementary school and middle school girls identify as their biggest worry, the thing that they just worry about the most, okay? And once you get into your corner, we'll maybe hear from a couple of people why you chose that quadrant, that corner, and then I'm going to go and ask you to stand with the same topics in the corner that you're most worried about when it comes to girl issues, okay? Everybody with me? Okay, so this corner right here is going to be body image. So what body image encompasses is everything from your height, to your weight, to how developed or not developed you are, to your skin color, to your, whether, you know, everything that, your hair, everything that embodies what you think girls think about when they think about what their image is, what they look like. That's going to be here. In the back corner, it's going to be friends, okay? And that's everything from who your friends are to who they aren't, all about friends. That far corner is going to be school issues. So that's everything from academics to just being in school, what the school culture is like for you. And last but not least, family issues, okay? And that can be anything from divorce or death in the families to blended family, any kind of issue related to family, okay? So a real quick recap. Body image, friends, academics, and family. So choose a corner to stand in if you would.
Not where we think our daughters are, but where we think most girls fall?
Yes.
That's what I wanted to share.
Thanks. Okay. Let's just take a moment to visually look around the room and see where people think girls, what the issue is that girls are most worried about. I'd love to be able to hear from everybody, but time will not allow that. So why don't we start here? Maybe if one person would be willing, or two. Why did you pick it? Why do you think girls say this is their biggest worry? Yes, real loud so everybody can hear.
Okay. I have a daughter that's an 8th grader in
Okay.
middle school, and she talks about it all the time.
Time, okay.
She's a dancer, and she talks about how her body looks, am I fat, do I look okay in these jeans? She wants to wear a uniform skirt way up really high, and they measure it with a ruler, and she thinks about it a lot.
Thinks about body image a lot. Thank you. Okay. Back here, lots of folks and friends. Why do you think girls worry about that so much? Somebody. Yes.
Just because they want to fit in and be accepted.
Yes. Really, really important for all of us, right? But really, really important. Upper elementary school, middle school. Anybody else? There's so many people. Anybody else have a different angle on it? Want to add anything? Okay, great. All right, family. Oh, there's nobody in academics. Okay, family. That's kind of scary. Okay. Yeah, family. Anybody willing to share? Yes, thank you.
I chose family because when my daughter leaves the house, if something's not right, it affects her whole day. It affects how she interacts with friends. It affects how she thinks about herself. And it affects, basically it affects how she responds to everything.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Thank you. I think that's really true. Okay, so it's interesting. No worries about school. At least you're not, okay. All right. So now what I would like you to do is to go and stand in the corner that you are most worried about when you think about your daughter. Like what is the issue that you just feel it triggers you, that you